Hey guys, what's up? What's happening? I am still the King of Games 98. How you doing? Hope you are doing good and staying safe. And well, believe it or not, this will actually be my very first Wii U related video that is up on my YouTube channel. And I don't know why. I have never done a Wii U related video on my YouTube channel before until now. I really like the Wii U and I enjoy collecting games for it and just about anything Wii U related for the console. So I apologize for that, but I really thought this would make a good and interesting unboxing video and just a good video about talking about this controller in general. So, this is where the story of how I bought this controller begins. So, 2 weeks ago, I went to Next Level Video Games. Shout out to Nick, the owner. Love you, dude, and the store. I know I've mentioned that store multiple times throughout multiple videos, so I don't really think I need to go into that. So, the reason why I was going to Next Level Video Games was because I had two disc-based video games that were scratched and I wanted both discs resurfaced. And I did end up getting them resurfaced. They were $5 each because they were pretty badly scratched. How they go about charging is if the disc is lightly scratched, it's $3, and if it's really badly scratched, it's $5. I don't really think that's bad. And the one game was Godzilla Save the Earth for PlayStation 2, which it sucks. It's just loose disc, but it's still a $30 game. And I paid $3 for it and paid another 5 to get it resurfaced, and it plays beautifully now. So that was worth it. And the other disc isn't actually a game disc, it's a demo disc. And that was, or I should say, that is the Sega Dreamcast Generator Volume 2 demo disc. I just thought it was so cool, and I've never seen that before, so I picked that up. And I know some of you will probably say, that's kind of an odd thing to get resurfaced, a demo disc, but that is the one and only Sega Dreamcast demo disc that I currently own. And for the record, it did actually play, but then it froze. So I thought, you know what? I think it's cool. Let me get it resurfaced so that it'll play perfectly as it should. And while I was there, I was looking around the store while the two said discs were being resurfaced, and I see this old school brand Wii U Pro Controller sitting on one of the shelving racks with the rest of the Wii U games on the wall. And I thought to myself, I have really wanted a Wii U Pro Controller. And the official OEM Nintendo brand ones used, because forget about trying to find one brand new in 2022. Like, that's not going to happen. A used one goes for like easily $40 to $50. Easy. And I didn't really feel like paying that much for a used, Wii U controller, you know? And this was there. I was there. It was only $25, and I was like, you know what? What the hell? I'm gonna try it. So I paid for my two discs to be resurfaced, bought this, and that was it. Okay, so that's the story of how I came to buy it. Now, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're either thinking to yourself right now or you're physically saying to the video, to me, why did you buy this? Why did you buy this? And you're probably like, look at this. Like, look at the actual controller and why did you buy this? You still bought it. Yes, I know. I know how it looks. I know what the controller itself looks like. I know. Yes, I did still buy it. Let me explain why I still bought it. So, I really like the Super Nintendo controller. Both how the button layout is and how comfortable that controller feels while gripping in my hands. For the record, the Nintendo GameCube controller is my favorite Nintendo controller ever made, and the Super Nintendo would be number two. And yes, I know I'm a man of culture, but sorry, GameCube is top tier. So, but anyway, so I was looking at this controller and I know how it looks. It looks just really odd and funny looking, but like I like kind of like without taking it out of the box in the store, I like imagined how it would feel gripping it. And I was like, this actually probably wouldn't feel half bad. So I went for it. And without further ado, this is going to be my old school Wii U Pro Controller unboxing and review video. Alright, so as of course you can see, I did pay $25 for this at Next Level. It features a classic button layout, rechargeable battery, and precision analog sticks. Charge cable included. See here. Classic controller layout inside a modern controller. Yeah, I would say they nailed that. Two precise analog sticks for easy movement. Ergonomic grip for comfortable gaming sessions. I would agree with that. Long-lasting rechargeable battery, and that's still up for debate. And works wirelessly on Wii U. All right. Now, fair warning, I've technically opened this controller twice now. So, I know this technically won't be my first time opening this controller, but you got to understand, guys, after buying this controller, I was a little nervous about if it was actually going to work. So, the first time I opened this controller, it was to charge said controller. And then after it was fully charged, I would actually sync it and connect it to my Wii U console to properly test and try said controller to make sure it actually works. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, it does actually work. And it does what it's advertised to do. So, without further ado, put that off to the side. So, this is the controller. It obviously came in that little plastic housing. You get a USB, a micro B USB charging cord, and an instruction manual. When it's literally just one piece of paper. And this is supposed to be an instruction manual. Yeah, we're going to get back to that a little bit later. Okay, so let's take a good look at this Wii U Pro Controller's button layout. And I'm going to talk about some of the buttons. Well, actually, no, I'm going to talk about all the buttons on this controller and how I feel about them after having charged and tested this controller out with a game. So you got your left analog stick, you got your right analog stick. They feel okay, but when you move them around a lot, you hear that plastic on plastic sound, which doesn't really sound too good, and that sounds like that. It's not horrible. And I guess I should expect that for an aftermarket Wii U Pro controller that was only $25 new. And that doesn't really bother me because I do actually like the analog sticks on this. I think the analog sticks are pretty decent and that noise doesn't really bother me. So then we got the D-pad here. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, I actually like the D-pad on this. I think the D-pad is pretty darn good. It's not Nintendo quality good, and I love how they tried to make it look like the Nintendo ones by putting the little lines on each of the arrows on said D-pad. But yeah, I actually like the D-pad on this. I don't think it's half bad. Then we have turbo and clear buttons. Now, for the record, I'm just going to say it right now. While testing this controller, I did not try the turbo button. Turbo, man. No. I did not actually try the turbo button on this controller, but considering all the other buttons that I tried on this work, I'm sure that the turbo button works as it should. And then over here we have the A, B, X, and Y buttons. And I love how old school for the A, B, X, and Y buttons, they chose the Super Famicom, or well, I guess you could call it either Super Famicom or PAL region Super Nintendo controllers, or yeah, Super Famicom or PAL Super Nintendo's controllers colored buttons instead of North America's two shades of purple colored buttons for A, B, X, and Y. But you know what? That's okay. I am very okay with that. I think the four different colored buttons look good. And again, I think they're very responsive. We have the power button, which I found out after opening and testing said controller. Once you have this controller synced to your Wii U console, not only will it turn the controller on, but it will also turn the Wii U console on, which for me, guys, is very helpful. That is very helpful because I don't think, have I ever showed where I have my Wii U set up in a video? Yeah, you know what? I guess I have before, but in case any of you that are watching this have never seen it, I have my Wii U set up in my bedroom. It is high above a dresser where I have my Samsung 32-inch flat screen set up. And I do not keep my Wii U's gamepad out because it is in pristine condition and I want to keep it that way. So instead of letting it getting dusty, I purposely keep it in a drawer. So every time I would want to play Wii U or test a new Wii U game I would have to pull the Wii U gamepad out of said drawer, charge the Wii U gamepad, wait till it's fully charged, then be able to turn on my Wii U now. So now I don't have to worry about having to pull out my Wii U's gamepad, charge it, and we can leave this controller out, charge it whenever it needs to be charged, and that will turn on my console, which is fantastic. Then we have start and select buttons. They feel good. A home button, that feels good. And then you'll notice here and here are speaker holes. Now, while testing this controller, I did not hear any sound coming out of those holes on this controller, so I don't know if there is actually two speakers in this or just one speaker, or maybe no speakers at all for all I know. I don't know. Then at the top here, we have the L and R shoulder buttons. I think they feel pretty good and they're very responsive. Now we have the ZL and ZR trigger buttons, and well, I personally do not like how they feel. I think it's very, what's the word? It makes you think by the way they're positioned that the buttons will click in and go down more, but they don't. So like with a PlayStation 2, or no, not a PS2. Like with a DualShock 4 PS4 controller, the L2 and R2 trigger buttons, when you press down on them, the buttons actually concave in with the rest of the controller. Well, these don't. They just straight up press down, and that's it. So like they press down, but they don't like conform to the rest of they don't conform to the shape of the controller. They just kind of stay flush. Well, no, not flush. So I don't really like that, but it's whatever. And on the back here, we have the sync button to sync said controller to Wii U console and the reset button. And we're going to talk about this label a little bit later. The fact that it's calling it Controller Pro U, that actually is very significant. And then that's where the USB charging port is, and it's upside down. I don't know why they did that, but they did it. So yeah. Now, looking at the instruction manual, it also calls this controller Controller Pro U. Yeah. And then on the back here, how to sync said controller, I noticed there's grammar errors, which is hysterical. Where was it? Yeah, I forget where, but there was like grammar errors. It was pretty funny. And then we got a micro B USB charging cord, which is pretty long. You know, it's decent. Okay, so I am now going to talk about the Controller Pro U significance and why it says that on this controller. So, before recording this video, I looked on YouTube to try to find other videos of people unboxing or talking about this specific controller, Old Skool's Wii U Pro Controller. And that is all I typed into the search bar for YouTube. Old Skool Wii U Pro Controller. That was all I typed in. I did not find a single video on YouTube about specifically Old Skool's branded Wii U Pro Controller. Instead, what I found was a bunch of aftermarket Wii U Pro controllers that were shaped identically like this. I mean, identically down to everything was the same. I mean, everything was the same on this controller. In some instances, I believe they are, I believe they were there and there. There were two switches on the back of this controller that would actually let you use this controller on a Wii and a Wii U. Yes, you heard correctly. I said Wii and Wii U. Old Skool, for whatever reason, decided to remove both of those switches, making it impossible to use this on the Wii and making this only for the Wii U. So that was interesting. And then the fact that the label on the back of this controller calls it Controller Pro U, and the freaking instruction manual calls it Controller Pro U too. Now, why I bring this up is this makes me think that those Chinese, aftermarket companies made this controller first, and then Old Skool took said controller, put their logo on it, and then put it right back out for sale like it was something new. When it's really not, and it's been around for a long time now. And the funny part was the 3 different videos I watched of people unboxing this controller, but it was another company's brand. They were like, the videos were like 7, 8, I think one was even 9 years old. So this controller has been around for a long time. I don't know when Old Skool decided to take it and rebrand it as theirs, but they did. Now, if you noticed, on the back of the box, it is dated copyright 2016 Old Skool. So I don't know if 2016 was when they branded this controller as theirs and released it, to the public, or what. But one of those, either the Chinese aftermarket companies either came first or Old Skool's came first, and then they copied, Old Skool's design. I don't know. I really don't know either. But I thought I should mention that because I found that pretty interesting when trying to find other videos on this controller. So, I am now coming towards the end of this video where I'm going to talk about my thoughts, feelings, and opinions of this controller and if I would recommend it to you guys. Because let's be honest, the Wii U didn't sell very well. It is now 2022 and Wii U consoles and games are starting to become hard to find. certain games in particular are starting to go up insanely in price and value. So for me, I thought, you know what? This is probably a good time to grab this controller, even though it's, an old school branded one and it's not OEM official Nintendo brand. For $25, I was like, yeah, why not? So, how do I feel about this controller? Well, it's not the greatest controller ever in the world that I've used, and it's not the worst controller I've ever used in the world. I would say it's a decent third party controller, and I would describe it as decent at best. Now, I'm going to talk to you guys about the specific game that I tested this controller out on my Wii U on, and then we're going to wrap up this video. So, I tested this specific controller out on Mega Man VII for Super Nintendo on the Wii U's Virtual Console. Yes, years ago, I bought and downloaded Mega Man VII onto my Wii U, and I still have it on my Wii U. So I thought, wow, how perfect is this? Part Super Nintendo controller, part Wii U Pro controller, testing it out on an original Super Nintendo game. You know, I thought it only made sense and was proper. And you know what? That was a really good game to test this controller out on. Now, mind you, this was a Super Nintendo Virtual Console game that I tested this controller out on. So I primarily only used the bottom Super Nintendo portion of this controller. But even so, just using the bottom half of this controller, it was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic playing Mega Man 7 on Virtual Console on my Wii U with this wireless controller. It was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. Now, is this controller going to beat Nintendo's branded Wii U Pro controller? No, absolutely not. And, for the record, I've never owned or used an official Nintendo brand Wii U Pro controller, so I don't know how the original one feels, but, obviously that one beats this one out of the park, no question about it. But if you're looking for a decent Wii U Pro controller that is cheap, and maybe you want to use it just for virtual console games on the Wii U, or maybe you just want a cheap Wii U controller to give to your kids, and if they break it, you don't care because it was cheap. This is a great alternative to all those options and choices I just said. Whether you want this to play virtual console games on, whether you want this to play actual Wii U games on, whether you want to give this to your 5 or 6-year-old, and if they break it, they break it, you just buy them a new one. You don't really care because it's only $25. Those are all great reasons why you should buy this controller. Now, am I actually telling you to buy this controller? Well, if you collect for Wii U, yeah, it might be good to pick this controller up right now since it's cheap still. If you don't collect for Wii U and you maybe have one or you bought your kids one and they want a good wireless controller that may or may not get destroyed, this is a good option. This is a really good option. Now, again, guys, like I stated at the very beginning of this video, I paid $25 for this controller. I thought that was a very fair price at that. And I actually, also before recording this video, I looked this controller up on eBay. And I was able to find the old school specific brand of this controller on eBay. And on eBay, for some reason, the majority were still going for $25, but some were even going for $30. Some I even saw for $20. So I would say if you want to buy this controller, that's okay. I just would say don't spend more than $20 or $25 on this controller, because if you spend any more than that, you're just getting blatantly ripped off. Oh, and I don't think I also mentioned that this controller has no vibration and has no vibration motors in either of the sides. Don't think I mentioned that. Okay, guys. Wow, I've been talking for a long time now. I didn't think I was going to be this long. I am so sorry about that. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let me know down below in the comments section if you own a Wii U. And if you do, would you pick up this controller just from what you've seen and from what I've told you in this video? Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.